Hello everybody and welcome back to the Legacy Cast Starting Guide to Bowling Part 5, where we're going to be talking about getting into leagues, which if you don't know about leagues, we're going to get into, but this is the podcast where we talk about bowling once a week. If you want to go into the podcasts where we talk about film, those would be more Monday podcasts. If you want to do more just general me talking about random things, sometimes it's about gaming, as the last two ones have been on Wednesday, and sometimes it's about the weather and random places. But those happen on Wednesday, and Fridays are the bowling singles. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about leagues, and with leagues, guess what we're going to be talking about in the next podcast? Getting the league arsenal together, which is a 3-ball system. Anyways, before we begin, we would like everyone to know that at the Legacy Cast, we're all idiots. These takes are our personal opinions, but that does not exclude us from scrutiny. If you think that we're doing something wrong, please voice it in the comments below. I would love to fix it. This podcast will include, but is not limited to, swearing, sexually explicit content, hot and cold takes alike, and even more swearing. Thank you everyone for joining us for Legacy Cast Single Part 5, where we talk about leagues. Now, I know what some people would say. What are leagues? Well, leagues are typically a one night a week to get together where you and a group of other bowlers bowl against another team of players. The basic format of number of players is typically 3v3, 4v4, and even up to 6v6, which I've seen at my center, which, good God, those took forever. And basically the way it works is that you still have to bowl individually, so you have to bowl your game, the other people bowl their individual games, and then it's team total score to win the match. And you do it 3 times. You bowl 3 games, total score at the end of each individual game. Total team score at the end will give you a point, or this is how the standard system typically get a point. So 3 points can be awarded during the league night, and most of the time there is a 4th point to be earned, which is team total score versus the other team's total score. And these goes week to week for a set amount of time before ending, and usually at the end. Some leagues are casual, you don't get anything. Some leagues are a little bit more pricey, but you're putting money towards a prize fund, which is divvied out depending on how you finish in the league. So if you're first, you're going to get the most money. If you're second, you get a little less money in the first end. It gets broken down, so on and so forth. The better your position, the more money your team gets to divide up between its members. And this is how adult leagues are typically run. But do not worry. If you are a youth player or just getting into bowling under the age of 18, you are able to join youth league. And while youth leagues are not allowed to win money directly, any money earned in youth sanction events and tournaments will be given to your Smart Scholarship account. This can help you pay for a little bit of college, a little bit of books, and the reason before this is down to essentially if you are earning money if you're under the age of 18 and you're earning money outside of youth events, you're technically considered a professional athlete by the College Board, meaning that all of your scholarships that you earned playing youth sports or that you've earned through youth sports are effectively invalid, which is why I typically recommend, if you're under the age of 18, it used to be 20, that was a recent rule change that they made this past year. But essentially, if you're 18 or younger, do youth events, get that scholarship money, and then you can move on to adult leagues, because they've changed the system so much this past year. Basically, what it used to be before was that it used to be up to 20. You could do youth sanctioned events, and then after 20 you could do adult events. Now, once you reach the age of 18, you could choose to stay in youth, or you could choose to do adult events. Now, the issue with going to adult events at that point in time, which was actually just up until this past year, was that all of the scholarships you earned in youth leagues would be null and void, because you were considered a professional athlete at that point under college scholarship rules, and so you would lose money. Goodbye. Say goodbye to it. Doesn't exist anymore. Um, and so typically players would stay until they're 20. Well, what happened this past year is that they changed it to 18. There weren't a lot of incidents specifically related to bowling, but it's because of, that whole gymnastics scandal that happened, this past year with sexual abuse with adults and younger people. So what they had, basically they cut the age down to 18 for youth events. So basically once you're now 19 or older, you have to do adult events. And if a youth wants to do adult sanction events, the entire adult league has to do this. They have to basically, it's like this, I will not, do this, and this with children around. It's basically like a legal agreement saying that you won't harm children in a physical / sexual manner. And yes, I'm getting serious in this, but right now, basically what that's made it do is that adult leagues have now banned any player under the age of 18 from entering the league, which actually kind of screwed one of my friends over. He was 17 at the time, and over the summer he did an adult league. And he cashed in that league planning to, and he wasn't 18 yet, but he was going to turn 18, the next coming year, and he was going to bowl in adult leagues last season. Well, I ran into an issue because the rule change came in, and the league voted to say no youth players could come in. And so, guess what? He can't bowl adult leagues. But because he's earned money, he can't go back to youth leagues. And the only way he would have been able to go back to youth leagues is if he forfeited any money that he won during the adult league over that summer, which put him into a sticky situation. What he ended up doing was he took that season off. He bowled sometimes in the sport shot tournaments, which is more of a tournament thing, not a youth adult, because it's a tournament where youth and adult players can play. But essentially, which isn't USBC sanctioned, so it didn't need that clearance. But essentially, he just took the season off, and the season before he went off to college, which was his high school year, and he just decided, okay, I'm gonna work this year. I'm not gonna do a couple practice events, but mostly I'm just not gonna bowl. I believe he's gonna be bowling out at college in Arizona. I hope he's able to, because he was a good friend of mine. I like to bowl with him. If you're watching this, Chase, hope you're doing well down in Arizona. Anyways, back on to leagues. Also, some leagues offer different rewards at the end of the season, other than money. There are some leagues that are called Get Your Gear leagues, where essentially there's a list of bowling balls that you get to see at the beginning of the season, that at the end of the season, or when you pay all of your league dues, which some people, what they would do is they just pay the league outright. Because essentially the league dues go to the center's lineage fee, and it goes to paying for the balls that you're going to get. And so what people do is they just pay it out early, and so then once you pay the fees out, or at the end of the season, once you pay it out, you can then choose 2 bowling balls of your choice from a catalog it gives you. And these would be not just, entry level balls. These were like performance balls, like balls that would probably cost you, I think it was like 174, like, 130s, 150s, roughly, if you were to get them on your own. So, and I actually did one of these. I got two very, very, very strong balls. One of them I still have on my bag. The other one I decided I'm still on the fence about putting back in, just because of how strong it is and how often I really would get to use it if I re-drilled it if I plugged it up and fixed it up for myself. But yeah, they offer usually typically very top of the line, just discontinued or about to be discontinued balls that have just a way for the manufacturer to get rid of some bowling balls while offering them in a league setting, which is a great way to earn some bowling balls and also get to bowl while doing it. They also have leagues where you can get a jersey, so you can get like one of those, like if you've ever watched the professional tour, some people out just bowling in practice, or maybe you are bowling leagues already. Those nice like custom bowling jerseys. Some leagues offer one of those at the end of the season, where you can get one to put your name on the back, and it's one of those like nice dry fit style jerseys. And then you can choose the collar, because fun fact about bowling jerseys, you can actually choose different collar types. You can have the regular button-down polo. You can have a quarter zip. You can have just like a normal t-shirt kind of thing. It's really nice. You get, and that's basically more about comfort. And it's great having those. I have 3 jerseys. Two of them I earned from that league. But what basic now, if you're wondering how I got it, I like to go into a little bit personal stories because, and just so you're apprehensive, what if I put my name on there wrong? Well, what actually happened is they gave I was there with my dad, my brother, and myself. My brother's jersey, they accidentally sent it with my name on it. And so we had to, go back, talk with them again and be like, hey, can we get a jersey for my brother, and everything. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, what do you want us to do with this other jersey? Because I'd be willing, to pay for it to keep it. And they're like, no. For the mistake, we'll just let you keep it. Well, that's how I ended up with 2 jerseys, and it's great. So H5, fantastic people to work with in their PR department. I highly recommend them for your bowling jerseys. They're a little bit expensive, but they feel absolutely wonderful. I'm not saying the other companies don't feel wonderful, but all my out of my 3 jerseys, all 3 of them are H5. I really like them, so I can only personally recommend what I've played with and what I've seen other people with that I've talked to in comparison. Now a lot of things that I hear about people is that they worry about they're a new player coming in and they're like, I don't know if I'm good enough for leagues yet. Get that thought out of your head. Get that thought. Just shoot it dead. The reason for that is that there are plenty of leagues for casual players, and youth leagues are very, very they can be kind of competitive, but they're still very, very casual. They're very, very open. I got into bowling through youth leagues, and I highly recommend if you are if you are interested in bowling and you're under the age of 18, join your first youth league. My first, I believe, 3 years of bowling were in youth league, and I absolutely loved my time in youth league. I made a lot of friends, people I still talk with on a regular basis now. I made friends with, that's how I met my pro shop operator, and not my older one, and he's so friendly. Me and him got along so well. That's how I met my some of my best friends, throughout high school. That didn't go to my high school. Some of my best friends are, were from bowling league, and I'm still very much friends with them now. I still bowl with them all the time. It's just, I highly recommend it. You'll meet a lot of nice people, and you'll make friends. Don't be worried about that. Bowlers are typically, there's assholes in every bunch, so there's gonna be assholes in some leagues, but most people are absolutely friendly. They'll be willing to help you. It's just a great time. I highly recommend getting into a league. And even a little bit more competitive leagues, a lot of leagues have handicap, which is for players who do not average in the 210, the 220, 230 range. Depends on what league is, because different leagues set it at different, different. Basically, it's your average minus 200 or minus whatever they set it at. So let's just say for this, say you come in, you're just starting bowling. Let's say you average 120, right? Basic score, you knock some pins down. Well, that means typically it's like 90% of the difference between your average and 210, 220. Let's do 210. 210's pretty standard. So say you average 120, so that would leave with 90. So you take 90% of that, and so you'd get 81 pins of handicap, and that's added onto your team's total score at the end of the night. So you don't have to be averaging 210, 220 to compete with bowlers who are averaging there, because they don't get handicap, so they have to bowl average. And if you bowl, especially as a new bowler coming in, while this is a hotly debated topic, new bowlers coming in have a huge advantage because their average growth is exponential over the course of one season with help. And so they can actually be an asset, because let's say you come in, you average, let's say you average 100. That means you're getting 90 pins of handicap. And as the weeks go on, you're bowling better and better. And while your handicap will go down, as you bowl better, during those specific nights, you'll have your score over that plus the handicap if you were bowling, under the, if you were still bowling at that, 100, 120 average. So it's very, very, very much a boon to total scores. And if you're thinking about cheating by, oh, I'm going to bowl, super, super low at the beginning of the season, and then I'm going to, do better later in the season, that's sandbagging. People do not like it when you sandbag. It's actually illegal under USBC rules, and it can get your USBC thing revoked. And it's a complex situation. It's hotly debated, but do not worry about just coming into the league. We all have bad nights. We all have good nights. We'll still have fun. There's a lot of casual leagues, believe me. As I said before, it's a fantastic experience joining a league. You'll meet a lot of nice people. Even my first youth team, still friends with me now. I've actually been myself on the receiving end of this. I've seen that if you struggling players, like if you're having a bad night, you're struggling, you can't get your ball to strike, players from the other team, not your own team, sometimes players from the other team will give you advice if you ask, and sometimes they'll just give it for you. They'll be like, hey, maybe if you move, you're rolling the ball good, you've got a nice rev rate, but if you move in just a little bit, you'll start striking. Or they'll give you a little bit of tips, and you're probably wondering, wait, why are they doing this? Honestly, it's because of the thrill of competition. Most bowlers, and they'll tell you this, even if they secretly want this, is they want to bowl against people when they're bowling at their best. And the reason for that is that it's a more satisfying competition. Because when you beat someone when they're bowling at their best, you not only feel better, for helping them out and, letting them see their own potential, but it's also more satisfying because you felt, like you did just that much more better. So as I said before, if you're doubtful about joining leagues, please do not hesitate when centers start opening up and you feel safe to go out. As right now with COVID going on, some centers might not be open to the capacity, as they were before, but some leagues aren't, get going to go. My leagues have started opening back up a little bit, which I'm so thankful for. But just please give them a shot. You won't regret it. I don't think you'll regret it. So now I guess we can talk about right now my personal experience with leagues. This will be a little bit of how I got into bowling. So it was my sophomore year in high school. If you're wondering, that was during the 2015-2016 season. So it's been about 5 years now coming, into this season. My mom gave me two options. She thought I was lazy, and she didn't want. I was given two options that summer to get into something. I was either gonna do bowling, or I was doing tennis. I don't like tennis, and so I got into bowling. I got my first plastic ball. I was off to the races. I got my first team, and week to week, I struggled. I think my first season I didn't average above. I don't think I averaged above like 120 my first season, but I still had such a good time. And after that first season, I was like, okay, I want to learn how to hook the ball. So that summer, right before league season was to start again, got my first hook ball. If you weren't here for my first bowling ball review, I'll tell you what I got. I got a Rhino. I got a Brunswick Rhino. And and my brother, he got something that was a little bit more in the performance category. So I got a 13-pound Brunswick Rhino. He's always bowled the same weight as me. He got a 13-pound Black Widow Legend. So obviously, he was hooking the ball a little bit more than me because his ball was a lot stronger. And that made me jealous. That made me work that much harder, going into that next season. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to get another ball. So I was like, I'm not going to get out hooked. I want to win. I want to beat my younger brother. This is coming from the season before, because our first season, my team, we ended up in, I believe, 6th. My brother, their team dominated. That's his first season. Like, I came home with like 2 trophies. My brother walked home with 6. I'll tell you about, how, because he was in junior varsity, I was in the varsity league, which is not based up on skill level, it's based up on age. Um, Typically, once you get to about 13 plus, 14 plus, that's when you move up to majors or varsity bowling and youth. Before that, you stay in junior varsity, and if you're really, really young, like I'm talking maybe like 5 to 10, they'll put you in peewees, which are the ways youth leagues are broken down. Fun fact. Well, he kicked ass this first season with his team, and I wanted to get better, so I wanted to learn how to hook the ball. So over that summer, I got my Brunswick Rhino drill, and over that summer I also did an NFL league, which was another bowling ball league, but that was the year of the 2016 year Eagles won the Super Bowl. They had an NFL league where you could get a bowling ball, and it could be NFL based, it could be something else based. It was a huge catalog of plastic bowling balls. My brother got a Green Bay Packers ball. My dad got one of the Eagles. He got the Eagles bowling ball, and I got myself an Albert Einstein, because I love science, I love space. I got an Albert Einstein plastic bowling ball, and so I had Albert Einstein plastic bowling ball that season. I had my Brunswick Rhino, and I had my gauntlet. I had my hammer gauntlet, which I drilled up as well. Over there, right at the beginning of that, right before the beginning of the season. So going into my junior year of high school, and that was what I used that year. And then that Christmas, I got another plastic ball. It was more just something I wanted, and it was just a starry plastic ball, so that way I could keep the Albert Einstein ball on display. And that's when I moved up to 14 pounds, but my hook balls at the time were 13. And so later that season, I got my first 14-pound hook ball, which was a Motive Rogue blade. And I think my second season, I averaged about 130, 140. I know it was 135. I went up 10 pins in average going. I think I went like 109 my first season, 120, 130 my second season. Now we're getting into my senior year, which I missed the first week of my senior year of bowling, because that's when I was early on that season, or right before, like the week before school started. I ended up in the hospital for being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was told it was genetic based. I don't know what triggered it, because when I was 12, it didn't show up on blood tests, because they tested me because diabetes type 2 runs very, very heavily genetic in my family on both sides. And I was tested at 12, 13. Did not test positive for either. I get to age 17 and I'm sent to the hospital for type 1. So that was a big change in my life, and it made me want to bowl even that much more. Because I realized, something I love could be taken away so easily. And I was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to become a professional bowler. I want to do it more than anything in the world. And so what I did was, about beginning of that season, a couple weeks in, drove up to a new pro shop, and I traded in my hammer gauntlet for a 15-pound, because it was the same person who drilled my 14-pound Rogue blade. So went up north, drilled up a 15-pound Motive Trident Abyss ASIM, so to replace my gauntlet, which was an ASIM. And that was the ball I shot my first 200 with. My first 200, it was in open play. It was about So I think it was like just January or February. It was like December, January, February, or somewhere in there. And I shot my first 200. It was a 266 and then followed by a 213. And my coach one-handed, who was my one-handed coach at the time, who was just, some bloke at the bowling alley, which is why I say, don't hesitate to ask if you're struggling while bowling. People will help you. But, getting back onto this, bowling, that really solidified my love for the game. Because, it was my first, I've seen so many people get 200s, and I wanted one so bad. And to have my first one be a 266 was just mind-blowing to me. And so that season, I drilled up 3 bowling balls. I drilled up that's when I got my Trident Abyss, my Physics, my Black Widow Black and Gold, and then later on that season is when I made my switch to two-handed, which was the style of Jason Belmonte. And that's when I got my first balls drilled to that style, which was my Hustle Link, which, I wanted an entry-level ball, so that way I could relearn the game. So I got an entry-level plus. I got a Hustle Link for that league. It was my final season youth league. I was like, I'll get a Hustle Link. I got Night Pearl, and that's what I'll play with, being my first season going into two-handed. So at the end of that season, I was a different bowler. Got all my balls plugged, except for my Trident Abyss. And I got into my, that summer, drilled up a couple more bowling balls. And that was my first. Then, so after that season, I could have stayed. I was 19 at the time, going into my first year of college, and I was like, okay. And my first year of college, I was still in youth, right? Because my first year of college, I was still in youth bowling. That's right. Okay, now I got things mixed up. So I got all of that stuff. I got my Trident Abyss, the Physics, and the Black Widow Black and Gold all in one season. I got those 3. Love them each. And then the next season, my first year of college, and my last year of youth league, because I decided next year I wanted to do the adult league. So my last year of youth league was in my freshman year of college, back when the rule was still you could stay until you were 20. So I was going to turn 19 at the time, and that's when I decided midway through that season I wanted to. My one-handed game was getting good, but it was very limiting, so that's when I wanted to switch to the Velmo style, which has done wonders for my game. It's a little bit more comfortable, feel a little bit more confident, and especially right now, I am the most confident in my game I have ever been. And so at the end of that youth season, I was a two-handed bowler. That's when I got my Hustle Link and Roto Grip Idle Pearl drilled up. And that's also when I got my first urethane ball, my Fever Pitch. Good God, I love that ball. That ball's earned me a lot of money. That ball's earned me the most money because it's been in every tournament I've won money in. And at the end of that season, I had a choice to make. I was like, do I stay in one more year for my final year of youth league, or do I go to adult leagues? Oh, I'm gonna go try my first adult league. So I did too. I joined my parents' team because during this entire time, my parents were doing adult leagues. So I joined a more casual. Well, over the summer we did a different league. It was called it was like a just for fun league. I mean, people would get wasted in this league. They would have literal towers of alcohol, and towers of alcohol. Or it was more for a group, so that way they could all get it. And they had these, all in all the leagues that I did that was outside of youth. And I was and for this league, it was really, really cool because what you could do in it, was a summer league. And so everyone could do it, both youth and adults. And how it worked was, they had a colored pin. If the colored pin was the head pin, and you got a strike, you could spin a fucking wheel for a gift card. Yeah. And, whatever it landed on was a gift card. And of course, me winning it, guess what I won? Diabetic won him some ice cream from Cold Stone. Yeah, shout out to Cold Stone. They have good ice cream, by the way. I did still get ice cream. I had to take some insulin for it. And so that season I did my first, coming off of that summer, that's when I joined my first adult leagues. I joined a casual one with my mom and dad. I joined their team because one of their teammates who was a little older, he had a stroke. I think he's out of bowling right now, and I feel so bad for him. I really wish him the best. He was such a nice guy. And so joined their team. So it was me, my mom, my dad, and one other person who we shall not speak of because, good God, I did not like him. And then I joined a Tuesday night league, which was going to be a more competitive league. And then, of course, I still did Thursday nights, which was a sport shot thing, which is 1 week practice on a sport shot, sport pattern, 1 week, sweeper / tournament on a sport shot. And that was a season I chose to not really go for so much. That season I went for just training my game, practice, and so I went into the center almost since my senior year. I think my senior year of bowling last year, and then this, which got cut off a little bit early because of COVID, and then which would have been that was my sophomore year's college, and then I went. Okay. And so my sophomore year of college, I ended up switching majors, and that's the season I went to adult leagues, and then this got cut off because of COVID. Yay! I'm so happy. And then this season being my junior year of college. Which still can't believe it. I'm doing the casual, Saturday night league again, where people get loud, people get a little wasted. It's a fun time. It's still competitive. We still compete with one another, but it's a little bit more casual. And this season, I'm gonna work to getting to my average to 200, so that way I can get my PBA card. And I'm also gonna be bowling in a little bit more tournaments this year. Instead of doing focusing on 2 leagues. And so that's my recommendations for joining leagues, and then my personal experience. Leagues are tons of fun. And actually at a lot of centers, I really should have said this earlier, a lot of leagues, you actually get discount rates at bowling. You get discount shoe rentals if you didn't have shoe rentals before, and you also get typically you get discount game prices. So instead of paying maybe $4 to $6 a game, at my current center I believe we play a little over 2.5, maybe closer to $3 a game, which saves you so much money. Like, good God, I would be in crippling debt if it wasn't for that league rate. So that's how I can afford to practice every day, because that. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Legacy Cast Starting Guide to Bowling, Part 5 for leagues. The next one, if you're interested, I gave a little bit of hint at the beginning of the episode, but we're going to get into it right now. Which is, the next episode is going to be on building the 3-ball arsenal, or I like to call the core bag, or the league bag. I think that's going to be a fun episode to do, and I'll also get into a little bit. I enjoy talking a little bit more personal about my stuff, because I think that makes me, a little bit more approachable. So I think I'll do that for the next episode as well. Talk about, my league bag, how it's developed, how I've understand it a little bit better now, and thank you everyone for listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this Legacy podcast. Please come over to the YouTube channel if you're not listening on YouTube, and come over and watch us on the Fast Fire Guy 1234 YouTube channel, where we come together to play different games. I have a single player series up. It's about to become another one, because as of the day I'm recording this, it is 9/1/2020, which, if you don't know, is the release date for Crusader Kings 2, and I can't wait for in 10 and 8 to 10 hours when I'm able to play it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But anyways, as you can tell, I'm a little hyper for it being almost 3 in the morning. But anyways, thank you everyone for listening and watching, and I hope to see and hear from you guys. And hope you guys watch this for the next Legacy podcast. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode.